I just wanted to clarify that the CSA certification is in particular a certification related to PV requirements for construction electricians. Okay, let's not, we're comparing apples to oranges here to a certain extent. If that scope expands, it would have to expand based upon the F900 or those other types of requirements. I need to clarify one more thing, because John works with us so much that it didn't cost $500,000 to do the personnel certification program. That was, the National Electrical Contractors Association wanted us to take 35 or 37 of their national standards in the United States and Canadianize them. That was what that program was, just in case there was a misunderstanding. I felt like a big greedy machine.
It's not. Jacob here. I know there's a few electricians in the room. Are there any electricians who are not construction electricians? Who would not be certified, who would not have the prerequisites to even do the training and get this certification? Anybody in the room who is not? Dave, you're a construction electrician? No. So what you have going right now, if you're just a regular electrician but not a construction electrician,
well, there's really no such thing as a regular electrician. There's an industrial electrician, there's a residential electrician, so 309A, D, and C are eligible, and then the 442 is not as an industrial electrician, and they're typically not doing that work.
but a residential electrician who wants to
That's
go into...
open to them, 309C.
It is open.
Yes. That's a 309C.
Comments, questions, anybody?
Well, I think you may have answered the question, but in the event that there's one who wants to pursue the certification but is not an electrician, then are they limited to not enduring or endeavoring towards this field?
The certification is a professional designation that is adding to the credential of an electrician. That is what it's for. So can you apply? No, because the basic prerequisite is an electrician's license. But I think like we're talking a lot again, and if I can get back to my point around enforcement, we're talking a lot about creating something, but if the law specifies that at this point, on Friday, Ted Olechna was very clear. He had a diagram. I wish I had it here. He had drawn a line. He had drawn a line, and he said, on this side of the line, you don't need to be an electrician, and on this side of the line, you do. So all the certifications and voluntary criteria we set, it comes right down to there's legislation, there's a law. Right?
But Kim, I think we're missing a point.
Okay.
The overlap that exists in the program that we put together, for example, all the risk assessment piece, the site assessment. There's a lot of overlap. For example, we have site assessment, shading. We looked at those sorts of things so that the electrician understood those things, but we also put in there safety, fall arrest, leadership, and supervision. Those things you would say are already the section 50 of the electrical, the other sections of the electrical code. Those things are in place. The expansion would be more to do with just the design. So one could take that and not reinvent it and overlap it, but the things that Michael alluded to that need to be there, they're there so that they're emphasized that they're there. So what those people are involved in that too. So what I was saying is that it's something that's well in production, and it just needs to be augmented with some additional pieces and parts to get there. So groups like Jacob's group could perhaps embrace that and teach different various sectors and sector people. And I think that's really where we're going. If we want to see a gap, we need more groups like Jacob's group to do the training, where there's people that are out there. The training there's a shortfall in people that actually know how to do the training. So, getting back to that point though, I really think that we could use this program and expand on it, because the costs that I referred to had to do with other expenses outside CSA's accreditation. But Kim, could there be some piggybacking and expansion on that, or does it have to be done independent?
No, I would think we could. I mean, it's our codes and standards that will end up being referenced in that piece. A lot of the work has already been done. I have a question. There's nobody mind. you from the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities?
They just left.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay. Because when you were talking about a governance body for ethics and performance, I thought that's what the College of Trades was for trades. And when you were talking about trying to create a trade for PV installers,
Well,
would
that's
the college
still there.
do that? Yeah. Now I'm asking questions.
There is an ethics board for technicians and technologists. It's OSAT.
It's OSAT.
Yeah, and right now they don't have a stance on any of this. I've been trying to get a hold of my local chapter president, and they're not touching this with a 10-foot pole at this time.
They don't touch the trades.
Yeah, and well, they do. It's more of a ethics test you take, and then you become a certified technician or a certified engineering technologist.
Right, but their model is different than an apprenticeship model because
Yes.
they have certified programs within the colleges,
Yes.
right? So you took a certified.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Oh, you wrote these.
My program wasn't a certified program, but it was a program that they accepted with my transcript and everything like that. So now I'm working on my certification process through
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah.
Ezra, are you still there? Ezra? You want to comment? You can't really raise your hand or anything, so. You want to get?
Unfortunately, not able to hear the speakers from the floor at all, Jacob. So if there's a specific question that you can relay to me, I'd be happy to answer it. And I also do need to sign off in a couple of minutes.
Any final questions for Ezra?
So I'm not feeling a very
No, Ezra, it's been great. And let me thank you for being a part of this, and we're just going to carry on for a few minutes. And I'm sorry that you couldn't hear the comments, and I'll probably see you tomorrow in San Jose. So thank you for participating. How about a round of applause for Ezra?
Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Steve Love from St. Lawrence College again. Just want to make sure we all leave with clarity around the technician technologist role. And we're, as a college, and we're accredited to give a technologist diploma, there's certain course content that it has to meet. So we can give a diploma in energy systems, which is what we do at Kingston. We cover a whole bunch of different technologies within there, but there is no overarching technology-specific standard that we work to in giving that 3-year technologist diploma. But there are core competencies in writing and mathematics and presentation skills, that kind of thing. So I believe.
And they're national, right? They're national technology benchmarks. That's what you're audited to do.
Okay, you know that. I didn't know that. I thought it was an
That's
Ontario
interesting,
requirement.
and it's applied locally, and OSET recognizes it, just like BC does or Alberta, right? But it's a
Yes.
national standard.
Once you're a technologist, you can move nationally. I believe at NTCU there's a committee that's been formed to look at standards for technologist diplomas within the renewable energy sector, but that's at very, very early stages.
Yeah, can you put that map back up, that line through it? Well, my question's to you, do you agree with that line?
I think it's a little, I actually made that, so. I think that the line, what the line is there for is to say that it's within reason, at least in the present thinking, that other than electricians can connect the wiring between modules to form panels and arrays. And when the voltage reaches higher voltages, on the code committee, we investigate fatalities and injuries, and we found that if we start moving that line to the right, that it's not going to make for a safer workplace. It's not going to make for easier for the ESA to actually legislate. So I think that the solar PV installers should be happy that the line's there, and it's not on the far left.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, that's great. I mean, I think it would be great to couple up and work with the work that you've done with the CSA to continue.
Yes.
As far as that line goes, that's where the line's been all along, right? I mean, it's accepted. I mean, If we move it left, we've got grounding there, and we've got issues on that left side, and I think we're losing sight of the fact that on that left side is where we're gonna run into problems with the inexperienced people out on the work. And this is my thought, is this is what we should be addressing.
I wonder if we had 3 non-licensed electrician fatalities tomorrow on a large solar PV site, what the decisions and changes it would be affecting the industry following those fatalities. Do we really need to kill some people and then say their rules weren't right? I don't know. If we're having electricians getting shocks in areas, and for example, in the last 5 years, 30 electricians died. In the previous 5 years, only 5 died. So in our electrical safety report, where we actually produce these sorts of these information pieces, that's what we look to, but we're waiting for people to die and then we're changing the rules. That's how these lines get brought up. The line is there because the solar industry was very strong and they pushed very hard to get that line where it is.
Well, why don't we look to the south though? Why don't we look at all installations that have happened in the US and have there been deaths?
That's another argument.
Actually, I did. I presented the Ontario Fire Marshals in last fall, and there was over 100 members there, and they're firefighters and fire marshals very concerned with this. And I look, and in my research, that's where I found that it isn't so much whether the person is licensed or not, because remember in the U.S. the right to work states, but the further we get, far fewer licenses exist, and they have guys, they don't have licensed people. So I just think what's important is that fellows like yourself bring these groups together to hear, because I heard some things from other people that I hadn't considered that I'll be bringing back for discussion.
Well, maybe we should start wrapping things up with that kind of a discussion of what have we heard today? Have people's minds been affected in any way? Are we moving towards any kind of consensus or any clarity on what needs to be tackled? I think we probably should wind up by 3:30, so I'll just leave that open.
I was just wondering, you mentioned that there was an increase in deaths. Is that due to the PV installations that are going on?
No, one thing that we do find, the increase in electrocution deaths are the fact that we've had regulations since 1994 that required to wear rubber and leather gloves. Almost all of those people over the last 10 years would have not been electrocuted had they been wearing the proper hand protection. I asked, how many people in this room have had a shock before? How many people would have had the shock if they were wearing rubber and leather gloves that were rated for the voltage? So if one person. So that's what we ought to be saying with the message is, where are the hazards, where are the risks, are there controls, and are people using the controls? That's the focus. That's where I'm very pleased that you pulled this group together and that we had these opportunities to discuss this. That's the only way that an industry-driven change will take place. We can't expect the government to show up here and do our job for us, nor will we get anywhere. They're regulators. They're there to help us. They're more our friends than they used to be. I've seen that. So. It's true.
No,
it's true, isn't it?
And I think what you're saying, there's a lot of validity to it, because I just had the opportunity to speak to Linda Jones during the break, and she definitely said that she would prefer industry coming together and coming to a resolution and then giving them less work, but also more direction in terms of the work that they're doing. So there's a lot of weight to what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think that we should expect that particular people in the government know our day-to-day activities on the floor in our industry. We ought to bring those thoughts together and not really try to rally for garnering the work and who's our work. But as Louis alluded to, there's always a great concern from electricians. We've been protecting things for a long time. This isn't the first time. The fire alarm was another one. There's all kinds of opportunities to keep hiving off trades, and it's happening now with lawyers, it's happening with doctors, the paralegals and the nurses and all these things. All these areas want to get a bigger piece of the pie, and it's just not our industry.
But John, I mean, we are living in an age where things are becoming more and more specialized. I mean, people's training becomes in every field, and this is something that's growing, and if Ontario wants to be a leader in it, you take on the one hand, Sven, who's saying everything, it's a trade.